Alright, well, we've graduated to the upholstery shop now. I'm in the spray room, I guess we'll call it. And so we're doing more painting. We got this thing ready to go on. So what we're going to do is take, so I guess I didn't record the part of, I had to weld the nuts on because the little crimps wouldn't hold. This one, of course, we just had to drill a hole, weld it on. So I've got to now line this up, and it is not lining up. Oh crap. Well, isn't that wonderful? That one lines up. Oh, okay. I thought I was going to have a big problem there. Okay. So we got a ratchet. Our chair here. So that we get these bolts in here. So I went ahead and painted everything. I painted the bottom side of that pretty good. But the top side, I just threw a quick coat on it. So now we have our 3/8 bolts. And we'll go ahead and bolt these down, even though they'll have to come back out and when I go to put the tracks on, but that's okay. Alright, now I'm going to try and line it up where on those, and that one, and I think that one slightly. Now, okay, that gives us 6 tabs, and then that'll solidify it from sliding around. Then we'll just put some zip ties on the other part just to keep this from being bouncy. I think that'll be fine. Now, if I can get that one to go down where it's supposed to be. Oh, with that I could have about got those. Oh well. They're not. It's not going to work out right on all of them. Okay, put that one. Okay, that's got it in place. That's holding it down. Like I say, I'm just going to run some zip ties around the rest of it just to keep it from rattling. But I gotta go get the zip ties. Alright, I got a couple of solutions, but we're going to try this one on these ends. This is tack strip board, so you got your metal tack strip with the metal spikes and they go up between there. So what we need to do is take and cut off one side of this. Carefully, obviously. Ah, there we go. So I'm just going to try it on these ends first because it's a little tedious to do. Oh, I didn't get into the wrong part there. There we go. Alright, and that. How did that come out so much too long? Okay, so, anyways. That, I was wondering why one side was longer metal. The other one came out. Alright. Now that we'll just, basically we'll roll it down here and try and flip it up on there. Like that right there. Now we'll take it, trim it off even here so it doesn't get snagged and pulled off. Like that. That actually works pretty nice. Now the other alternative I have is J-channel. And as you can see, it has a design that is supposed to clip on there and stay. Now the thing with the J-channel is, actually there's no real issue why it wouldn't work. Just this is hard to get now, and I'd rather not use it if I don't have to. Alright, got a little edge guard on here, so that'll keep that from getting word anything. Which I'm going to put carpet padding over this whole thing anyways. But so now we want to install some zip ties to hold this thing down flat. These are all tied to the piece of on the top, so I need to get out the original that's yet. I don't plan to get back all the way back, but the feet I'm taking out 1 time so they stay put. Now go in and put these skins off. Right. Now, that's got our base all ready to put some carpet pad on and then start building some foam. Now before I do that though, I will set the old springs back up there because I want to get a look at them. Those are the back springs. I don't want to get all this rust all over my carpet padding. So we just want to set these up here. Because they set right on top of that before. And then I'll get me a notepad, and what I'm going to do, see, this goes right there. And something like that. Okay. Oh, I see. This actually, there. Okay. So what I want to do is get me a notepad and take a bunch of measurements. And because I want the new seat to sit the same height as this. So I don't have any foam this thick unless I was to use some 8-inch and trim it down or something, and that'd be hard to do. So what I'm going to do is the way I've seen a lot of them do it. You cut your foam kind of sideways. You'll see more when I get into it. But I want it to be the height, and I want it to have the taper that it needs. Because for the proper fitment into, these trucks are really tall in the cab. So you need to be sitting up to fit in properly because they're short front to back. So if you sit low, you're going to be sitting there with your knees sticking up. So you need to sit up high so that your feet come down and it's comfortable. That's the way they're meant to be. So I want to make this seat the height and contour that it's supposed to be. Of course, now this would have been pulled down some, so I've got to allow for that. But as you can see, we don't want to use this mess. This is just to get an idea. So I'm going to get me a notepad, make a bunch of measurements, and write that down. So. All right. I was planning on using carpet padding, but somehow the carpet padding, which is a giant roll, got missing. I don't know where it's at. But I found this real heavy-duty fabric. I know y'all can't see it from there or whatever, but this stuff is like a 1/16 of an inch thick. It's real thick, it's real stiff. It should do what I need to do, which is basically to keep the foam from cheese grating through this wire mesh. So, what I'm going to do is, and it's wide enough to take care of the width, so all we got to do is cut the length. So we want to come over this part, and I'll roll it over here. See, it's so stiff it's wanting to stand up over here. Alright, so we have our burlap fish stuff. This is not anything like burlap, which is, even though it's used as a base, not actually the most durable thing. So this is going to go on here to keep from cheese grating the foam on this wire mesh. So now we will need to trim it a little more, and of course I don't have the little scissors, I have these big ones. So I want to leave enough to, well, as long as I just roll that into there. Actually, no, because part of this is going to be exposed, so we're going to take this corner over here, like so. And this part, I may bring down there and attach it. I don't have to reach on both sides to do that. I'm telling it. No. Okay. So I'm probably going to just hog ring that spot. Put that over here as well. And this front, we can trim back to where it'll right around the frame maybe. Like so. Just trying to salvage edge off on this side a little bit. Alright. Okay, so I've been working on this for a bit with the camera off. Because, I mean, I'm just zip tying, so we got zip ties holding our burlap, we're going to call it. And just so y'all can see right there how thick that is. And of course, I had the zip ties holding the wire mesh down. So we got just a whole bunch of zip ties holding everything together there. But, flipping over here. So that's what we got now. We got our nice smooth surface for the foam to go on. Now I do have a little bit of a hump here from the bolt, but I may have to make a little notch in the foam for that, so it doesn't make a hump in it. But other than that, pretty smooth, pretty flat, and very stout. So now we're going to start working on the foam. And so I have cut one by my measurements. So you got 7 inches at the front, tapers down to 5 inches at the back, and so this is a scrap of foam. I've got all kinds of scraps of foam, so I'm going to make it out of that, not just to be stingy or whatever, but this is going to be the best way to get this contour, because I can't take, even if I had a 7-inch piece of foam, I don't have a way to cut a taper in it for a piece wide enough to go all the way across this. So, and I've noticed a lot of people in the real high-end stuff, they do this, so I'm going to give it a go this go round. Now, it's not going to be any dips or anything. They're all going to be cut the same, except for the end piece. When I get down here to the end, it'll cut around this way, and then I'll probably just shape the edge of it, bevel it with the grinder. So, okay, so we have now a bunch of pieces that need to be glued together. Now I cut these with our regular foam saw, which is a double blade reciprocating saw. It stands up, so it has a base on the bottom, and it does great for straight lines, but trying to cut curves can sometimes be a little tricky. So I got some spots. I'm gonna have to go back and sand on this afterwards, but right now we're going to try not to drop anything in the floor, and we're going to try to figure out how the best way to do this is. Oh, for starters, I should have looked at it. What can I do? I thought I had one out here. Oh, okay. Well, isn't that lovely? This is probably not enough to get started with. We're going to do a piece or two though. So, the way I like to do, when I'm gluing 2 pieces of foam together, and I want them to come out as evenly as possible, I put my pieces like so, where they're like a hinge. Then we spray our glue. At least this is the colored glue, you can kind of see it. I don't have any more of this. I have the white glue that doesn't drop very well. No real difference in holes, it's just easier to see what you're doing with this one. So you spray, and you let it cure for a little bit, typically like 30 seconds or something. This gets the hole pretty quick. So, like I said, when I get them all glued together, I can come back with my grinder and smooth it out, shake them off, and if need be, I can cover it with some southern foam. Like I said, this is my first time attempting this style of foam. So, I have seen it done before. First time I've tried it. Alright, let's see. Just a little, see this one is off on the bottom just a little bit. So I'm just going to hinge it. So it's like so. Typically on a 50s seat, I've had to do some of them, and I reuse the springs and put them back with the traditional padding of foam, and I mean not foam, but usually it's cotton, and rubber pad cotton, hog hair if you still got it in good shape, or horsehair, whatever which it is. All right, so I was up here. I don't know if y'all can see that, but this one doesn't show up nearly as well. You just want to make sure you get both pieces evenly covered. Wow. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to shave on this front. Alright, so we got the wide one there. So I need one of these on this other side. Get another one here, so I'm going to have the wide one on the opposite end. As best as I can. So I probably would have been better off using the bandsaw to cut these. But I didn't have good access to the bandsaw, so I used the foam saw. Okay, that's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So approximately half of them. Alright, this is going to be the far side. Which means this one here will be our other end. So we're going to start with it and stack up the other way. Yep, if I do this again, I'll definitely use the bandsaw because I have a lot of shaping to do on these. I think on the ones where I've seen them do this is how they do it with the bandsaw. Alright, now comes the tricky part. Alright. Ooh, you get a light show. Okay, it's not pretty at this stage, but we got our basic shape. And sit here, and then I'll have to take and work with this and shade that down to where it's all even. Let's see, we're going to start doing this way, I believe. Now, you notice I did stay off of the bar a little bit, so because we wanted it to be a little bit wider, hang out just a little bit. I do the same thing over here. Yep. Time to go find some safety glasses. But let me just tell y'all, basically, I don't know anybody else is going to be doing this, just watching this, but whatever. So what I'm doing, obviously body grinder with foam, but you got to have a light touch, and you always want to, it's like this edge sticking up, you don't want to grind this way. You always want to grind pulling towards your edge. The top is rotating this way, so you want to pull towards your edge, otherwise it'll make dips. And, you don't want that. Now, as you can see here, doing that, it sometimes makes a little edge here, and I can go back and take that off with scissors. But I'm going to be here a while on this, so yeah. And yeah, it's quite messy. Okay, so I went back over this whole thing, and yeah, you might see some little, it's pretty smooth. So I took the hard disc off, and this is a 60 grit flapper wheel. So I went back over the whole thing and I got it leveled out, smoothed out pretty good now. So now we have the back, and repeat the process, but it's all going to be the same thing. Put the burlap, foam, glue it, shape it. So just a little overview here. We'll continue when we've got padding taken care of and we actually start making some covers. Alright, so I've moved indoors now in the main shop, and I've got my main pieces cut here. And so I'm going to have 12 pleats. They're going to be 4 inches wide. Now I've got to cut my sew through to sew that onto. This is for the seat. I've got the other piece cut for the back, and I had the pieces still together and marked the stripes across both of them. That way that keeps them lined up, so that when I put my back and my seats together, they will line up all together. So now I got to cut the sew through and get ready to sew the pleats in, and then this will trim afterwards. This one out here on this end I have marked, but that will actually not get sewed, because that will get the seam for the edge. It may become a little bit wider or a little bit narrower, but that's why you don't want to put a seam right here, and then it's going to be, you don't want a pleat right here and then your seam right beside of it. So this one will not get sewed in. Okay, so I was going to use a long arm, but we're having problems out of the machine, so we're going to have to do it on the regular machine. And I'm not sewing, let's see, that one I'm not sewing. So the way to do it this way in the short machine is you have to roll this up. Okay, our middle is approximately this one that I have the little mark on. So we want to start about there.
Climb back hard enough?
No. Roll it here. Put a, I don't like that strong clip on that. I'm going to put a regular clip here. Some of these are stronger than others. And then another little clip here. And then we got to roll our foam up the same like. Now you don't roll them together because that tends to cause problems. I want to make sure this is straight on here as best I can. And now we want to clip. There's that strong one again. Our foam here. And, oops, the cushion's not on the seat right. Here.
Pretty close to the middle.
Yeah, it should be right here's my marking the back of it. I'll check it after this seam. I should have enough to make at least one seam. Now we're doing black thread on the gray fabric because it's going to be trimmed in black, so I'm going to use the black thread for the contrast. Now I will back tack just a little bit. Probably not really necessary on these because they will get sewed over.
I guess that was the only thing we had in the trouble.
Yeah. So when I'm doing my back tack, I only want to do just a little bit on the ends, not actually out here where it will show. Now, bring him back down. You gotta let him up just a little bit. I think I can leave the foam, but I can roll this one back just a little bit. This one back just a little bit. Enough to get to that next seam. Now, you want to make sure that you're straight up there, not pulling one way or another, and kind of keep him snug. Now this is not necessarily going to be a how-to, but more or less just to kind of show what goes into doing something like this, because I don't think most people realize the amount of work that goes into it.
Are you coming?
And roll this back a little bit. This piece is for the seat bottom. The back is the longer piece. And I'm gonna unroll this one. I don't think I let him roll out enough. I'm gonna fuss with the other machine some more now.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can drop it.
Take it clutch back off.
No, I'm gonna see if I can drop this hook down a little bit.
Oh, okay. Has it got an adjustment?
Yeah,
Ah.
it's too high. It's hitting.
Yeah, it's hitting that plate. It shouldn't be. I say something was wrong with it because it was dragging real bad and it just didn't act like it wanted to sew. And it tends to want to pull the material that way, so I got to kind of keep it pulled down this way. Still didn't check my bobbin. So let me do that. I'm thinking about it. Okay, it's good. I was thinking I put a new one in it when I started on this project, which actually this is just now the starting up, so I was sewing something else in black. Anyway. So moving on. I think I can just take the clips off the fabric. They don't tend to roll away that bad, but the foam doesn't like to stay rolled up. So now I'm going to pull this down this way a little bit and do the next one. Okay, we got two more to sew, and then I'm not sewing this last one because that should be basically the end of the seat.
I think you turn your phone up a bit up here, people can drag it.
It's alright. Okay, that's all that I'm going to sew going this way. Now I got to roll him up, start on the other end, do the other part. But y'all kind of get the general idea there. I'll come back when we get all these sewed and when I'm doing the next part. Alright, I have my pleats sewed and on both pieces, and then I sewed the end on each top and bottom. Now we got to get our actual end shape. So what I've done, I've got it face down. I found my center of both pieces, and so now face down. Okay, so battery died at the most inopportune time. So anyways, I have my centers lined up. This is lined up straight across here, and then I reach under here and drew around this to get my line. Y'all probably can't see that, but I got me a line there. Now the other one came out a little inconsistent, so I'm going to sew this one and trim it, then line it up with the other side going from my center and even them up. That way they'll both be the same. Okay, so we have him sewed and trimmed. Now we're laying him up here, and we're going to line him up with the seam and that seam, and scoot him up until the top is even. And now we're going to take our chalk and mark this. So like I said, it came out a little bit off. So I need the chalk mark so that I have the mark of what I need. Okay, so I got my main panel trimmed out, and then I had to just go by measurements. So this goes along up to here, and then the top piece. So I got those three sewed in. So now I'll find their center them up, put a bunch of clips on it, clip it together, and sew it. So then it'll get the piece going across the bottom, and then I'll have to go back and put pull strips of some kind to attach. Now on the top and the bottom will be easy because there's springs to attach to. On the side, I've got to get a little more creative. There is a spring there if I make a long enough one to pull over, but I don't want to pull it over. That needs to pull kind of tight, and I don't want to distort the spring. So we'll have to kind of look at that a little bit more when we get that far.
Not to sneeze too much.
Alright, so I've got my pieces sewed together and French seamed with the backing. And then I found my center with a little notch here and my center here. So when you start there, you start clicking them together. This way you ensure that everything's going to work out before you sew it. Pull that out about right. That's a little snug. And get one every so often until I get over to my corner and start going around that. You gotta get a little more closer. Need to get some more of these clips.
Oh, we had 2 buckets full.
Yeah, but some of them's missing their tips, and we got
Oh, okay.
all different.
You got some while you were in pigeon?
Still, yeah. Didn't think about it. Got some that are stronger and weaker, and even with all the ones we got, we still could use some more. Well, this is gonna come out to where it's longer down here. I don't really know why.
What about going around this way? Is that the same?
Well, I won't know until I go around that way. But I guess at least it's better than it being too short.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where I measured that length to be. But anyway. Another one of those things, you just got to figure it out as you go. But that's why we put it together with clips. See how it's working out. The other end looks about the same. And we'll just sort of go with it. And I'll have a little bit extra down here to be able to probably turn back on the other piece or
Yeah, probably.
whatever. I'll figure that out when I get to it.
Just a little bit.
The other piece I cut the same as all the way across this. Yeah, when I got a big piece like this, oh, well, part of them's over here. Do you have any of the clips over there? You got a couple. I should have enough. I was just wondering if you got any of them. I see a couple stuck to the machine there.
Yeah, well, I got 3.
Yeah, that's part of it. We got some of them that ain't been put back in the tub.
4.
Wait for them to go down in the crack between the tables. Okay, so I'm seeing one inconsistency here. No. Alright. Huh. Now when I cut that, this seam was 1 inch from that seam. And now they're lining up. Now on this side, if I pull that snug, that pretty much lines up. I don't know that it's supposed to do that. I'm thinking I may have to take and stretch this center part a little more so that it don't wind up baggy on account of that. I'll have to see. So this is part of when you don't have a pattern and you're, like I said, literally just making it up as you go along. That's why it takes a lot of extra time. And I have had people bring one, oh, well, I took all that old material off and threw it away. Thanks. I really needed that to have something to go by. So never throw your pattern away, even, it don't matter what kind of condition it's in. It gives you something to go by, even if you have to adjust it. It's better than an imaginary pattern. So, now we want to take that and look at it, and where'd that one come from? And see, because we started in our center, and we're the same on each end here, but we're coming out too long here. That tells me that this should be where I had it figured out to come to. So, we take from our center, take the rest of it loose, and take this and put this an inch over. That's where it was supposed to land. That an inch over. That's going to take up about an inch here, and that'll take up part of what we got going on down there. Now with that like that, take and snug this back up, and put a few clips along it. Particularly on the seams, usually works best. Okay. Now, see that made our corner come out wrong, so we just got to take all these back off, resituate it again, and see if it comes out more where it should be on the bottom. Okay, so this seat, there was nothing but springs, so well, that came out a little better, but it's still got a little excess on the bottom. I think it'll work though. Alright, now we gotta go get these off. And these, put this, put the elbow on it there, stretch it out till we're our inch where we were supposed to be. Put one there, and one on each seam again. The reason you put them on the seam is because that's kind of a dip in it anyway, so that kind of keeps this snug across there. It should make everything work out right. So we've got almost 2 inches there. By the time I bring this back around, it'll be inch and a quarter, something like that. This is a fairly simple shape on this. When you end up with complex shapes, sometimes it can be difficult to try to sew with the clips in place. Something like this is not so bad. We get down to nothing but strong clips now. Alright, so now what we want to look at is our ends. We have about the same amount over, and we do. So we're even, just not even with the bottom of that, but that's alright. Better that it be a little long than too short. So now, we'll just sew it from here and go around. Put our clip tab back over here. And table over here for it to ride along, and that's our bottom piece. Don't forget yet. Hold the string, back tack, spill the clips. Put the 3 in there and they stayed, so. Now I'm probably going to go back and top stitch this on the vinyl side.
Check your width of your stitches before you top stitch.
Yeah, they probably need to be a little bit bigger for the top stitch. Although that's what I sewed the pleats with. So I'm having to pull just a little bit on these to keep that tongue across there. You don't want to pull a whole lot and stretch it, but once I get this seam sewed, I will need to check my bobbin before I attempt to top stitch. Of course, I'll test fit as well. Oh, hung up on the table over there. Okay, so now that's got our top boxing around our back. We'll just turn and get right on our seat, and hopefully it fits and goes in there correctly. We're about to find out. If I can get out from the corner now. Okay, we'll test fit here. So it should just lay right on there like it was made for it. Alright. So that will pull. I got to set up my pull on the back. It's actually going to pull down something like that, and this like the front, so that when it's pulled down, it'll be tight and slightly rounded. And this is a soft grade of foam, so this back looks a little thick, but this is what the dimensions of the springs was. Now, I don't know how much those springs may have been pulled down and compressed, so I'm just kind of trying to guess on how much I need to pull this down. Hopefully, it doesn't come out too thick and make the driver too close to the steering wheel or nothing like that. Like I say, that's why not having a complete seat to start with makes things a lot more difficult. But you got to work with what you got. So now we'll go back and sew the bottom strip on, and right now I'm not going to sew it to this unless I figure that I can sew those corners together.
I'm going to put a 4-inch cushion in this. Huh? 4-inch cushion.
I may do that if I can. And I may have to trim some of this off. Alright, so I got this top stitched all the way around, and I did end up sewing this corner together, and then we sewed it back for 3 inches. So I got a max of 4 here that's going to finish. So I sewed it at 3 because this side has to go around that bar and this side has to go around the other side. So now we're going to fit it back on here and try and determine what size pull strips I need for the back. For the, well, it's not just pull strips, it's pockets for the wire to go in, to put the hog rings in to hold it in place. So with that, it's going to pull down something like that. I think that's going to work pretty good. Alright. And this side, same like. Now, we'll just have to take it, flip him over, and try to determine how much pocket we need. So, here, we're going to come down to these springs to hog ring in. And this is going to need to compress and pull back there to be tight. So, I want to do something like that. Now, question is, do I want a hog ring here or do I want a hog ring up here? I want a hog ring here if I can, so that it can't slide around. So therefore I will need a very small pocket, just big enough to hold the wire. So on those, a 1-inch strip, no more than 1 1/4. I think I might do 1 1/4. See, all right. But now, here's where the dilemma comes in. So on this side, we have this spring that's sort of lopsided here, and that's going to need a lot more pull strip for that to come back there. And I can't really pull it real super tight because that spring is not very strong. I should have added one of those rods like I did on the seat bottom. Okay, so now I have the sew-through glued on. And I didn't show you all the sewing the pockets on, but while I was talking the other day, you take a piece of 2-inch denim, fold it, and then sew it on there to create the pocket for the wire. So this is a paper-coated wire that is flexible enough to go around in here. So we start this in here and have to feed it through. Now, you have to start from the right end according to which way you lap the 2 pieces, because it takes 2 pieces to reach around it. And I'm going to have to come over here and straighten it out a little bit. Now it ought to go. Now I've got that all the way around, sticking out the other end a little bit. Now we'll start pulling down a little bit here. Down a little bit here. Good thing is we got this black sew-through will help to cover if there's any exposure left from there, which hopefully won't be, but if it is, at least it won't be a white piece of foam showing through. So now we've got to flip him over and start putting hog rings in, which means I got to get the hog rings, because I don't think I want to flip it one face down. Now the sides are going to be a little more challenging, but we did figure out a solution. I'm going to try and do pop rivets. You go to pick up hog rings, you're not going to get just one. Usually you're going to get a bunch. Now I may have to put it on its face to be able to get this on here. Let's try to get it started about the middle. Let's see, I'm going to hook it on that part right there. No, this is not working out. I think I'm going to have to lay it face down. And I may have to turn this out of the way where I can see better. I can go through it, but I got to kind of feel for the spring that I'm trying to hook to. So I'm trying to hook to right there. Like that. I believe that's what we need. Now I'm going to skip over and get one over here. I'll come back, probably put one on each spring, but initially I'm just trying to get it kind of pulled in place. I'm going to try and put wire out here in the pocket to get the hog ring in. Maybe ever just a little bit. That's it. Okay. Now once I get it all across here, then I'll try the bottom. Here. Here. Okay. Now, so we can lay down into hogging pliers. I do have some bad hogging pliers, but they don't work in certain situations. Oh, this is going to be this is going to require a bit of oomph here. There we go.
You need some help today?
I'm getting it. Once I got him started there, I should be able to get it. So when you got to really pull one like that, lots of times I'll take and get my pliers, get my hog ring in the pocket, and then use that to pull about. Like so. Alright, now comes the fun part, is trying to get these sides pop riveted. So I've been fooling with it, and instead of being down on here, I need to put them more on the top, because this kind of just sits right on the top, so I don't want to pull it too much and make it cause more problems. So we're going to kind of put them just over something like so. Probably about every 2 inches or so. What we got on here, so. Turn around this way a little more. get my vacuum and clean up the metal shavings. Okay. So now we want to first load our rivet. Then pull this over here where it needs to go and make our hole. But I think I need this bigger regulator that I brought. And we got to pull it down as well as over. So we're going to use that one there. And take this one to enlarge this hole here. And actually needs to go over just a little bit. Aha, there we go. Now, well, come on now. There we go. Now that we're through the material, the holes may be a little small. Okay. Okay. Thankfully, I won't have to do this on the seat bottom because I put the little rail, the little wire all the way around to fasten them to. Kind of an oversight on this one. I didn't think about it because I knew I had places to hook the hog rings there, and I kind of forgot to do anything about these. But so this was an alternative. That was tough. Okay. A little wrinkling on this back corner, but that's back here where it won't really show. Side's starting to look pretty good. The more I pull it down. These trucks are kind of narrow and the seat comes over here, so your whole side kind of goes back in between there. So won't really be visible until you tilt the seat forward, which I found interesting. These particular trucks, even though they had a gas tank behind the seat, they had a little shelf on top of it for toolboxes and whatnot. that popped right off of there. Okay, after much wrestling with those pop rivets, I have this piece now done. And that's what it's supposed to look like. Nice and tight, smooth. We've got our top stitch around here, a French seam on where the pieces there go. And where I put the padding going around over here, this is nice and smooth. Not going to knock a hole in it so easy if it bumps into the cab wall or something. So, need to take a soft brush to it or air hose or something. Get all the particles off of it. And being face down on the table, which I did try to clean before I turned it face down, but I don't know whose bright idea it was to put a piece of velvet on here. Probably mine, so it wouldn't slide around. I don't know. Anyway, there's that. So, once I get the bottom piece, it's going to be basically the same stuff, making boxings and all that good stuff. So once I get it done, then bolting it back up and getting the seat tracks on, and I'll have this thing finished. Somehow I don't think that's right, but this is why you make a pattern first. That's actually supposed to go off back there, but I'm not going to do that just yet. We're going to see what this looks like. Yeah, that didn't work, so the way I was drawing it to begin with is looking like it was more right. Okay, so what we need to do is actually make it come like this and then up there around. Alright, so in that case, well, that don't make no sense. Move this up here, and then drop down to there. Put it up here and see what that looks like, and then if it don't work, we'll cut it on down there. That don't look like it's going to work either. Okay. Well, that is not at all how I pictured that to work. I was thinking it was going to be up here and then down. I just got to follow this. Which is to there. Oh, yeah, but I see where the difference is. Because this actually has to come down here. Okay, I knew that had to come down. I think I need some pins. Some people are more DIY than others as well. Okay, so that's what I had to trim off. Now, that's our two bands. Now I'm going to lift up my straight edge. Okay, so this would have been the way we marked that. And as I said, I'm going to allow a little bit here. And let me grab a couple of weights. I'm going to allow a good ½ inch or a little better. Just take one right there. Now, where did my pen go? Ah, there it is. And now we're going to draw this out. Now see, this looks funny because that's at an angle, but the way it wraps around there, it comes down straight. And just like this little peak up here, that's for the seam allowance. And I've decided to put probably ½ inch sew through on this to just to help make this side come out smoother, and probably on the front. Now the back piece I may drop back to ¼ inch. Nobody can see it anyway. Now we take our pattern and flip it to get the mirror for the other side. So in fact, I won't even use the fixed pattern. I'll cut this one out and flip it over. And that way I get the exact copy. Now some people like to just lay their pattern down and just cut around it. I tend to still trace it, especially for car seats. It gets it a little more accurate that way. There. Now we can take this piece, line it up with the bottom edge here, a nice straight edge. Set our weights on. And then you can draw around it easily. Okay.
This is generally, we work closely with self-employed to provide reduced price health care. Okay, if I share estimate.
Okay, so that's got all those pieces cut. Should have everything. Now I just got to lay these on foam, cut around that to get my foam pieces, and then sew everything together. Alright, so now we have both our French seams done on those. I'll trim this one out. Now, before we sew this on, we need to sew our back piece onto the main piece, because when this sews on, it'll start at one corner and sew up and around, all the way around back down to the opposite corner. So this has to be on here before I can sew that. Pull that bottom a little bit, make it come out right. So that's got us to the corner here, and then we've got to come on around this corner. There's another one. And this is where I need a stronger one. There, and to here, and we'll just start right here and go around. Now, Well, I ain't gonna be able to see nothing part of the time because of the cover here. Alright, now that I'm past my two seams that I wanted lined up, I'm going to take the rest of the clips off because it's actually easier to maneuver these as I go. And I need to stretch that bottom just a little bit so it comes out right on this corner. You don't want to stretch it too much or you'll end up with wrinkles. You want it to try and come out in the right place. Not looking like it's coming out exactly right. So, a little back tack right there. I'll take this out, tested it on the seat, see if I need to trim this a little bit or what's going on. Okay, so after a test fit, this corner is not coming out where it needs to be. But if I take a seam allowance up and trim that back about a 1/2 inch, that should make it come out about right. Everything else looks good. So, we sewed that. Now we're going to trim that off. Now, my seam here is on the corner where it starts down, like it's supposed to. So. Alright, now, what that did was make these two corners come out even with the same amount hanging down. So, but shortening that up just a little bit, make that come out right. Now that might make this side a little bit smaller than the other for some reason. I don't know why, but anyway. It's only off by 1/2 of an inch, so you're not going to see that. That could be in the foam, because the foam was all scratch made and then shaped down by hand, so, you know, it may not be perfectly symmetrical. Now, next thing we got to do is do another test fit, and then we'll come back and top stitch around this. For my top stitch, I want my stitching to be on the vinyl surface. So unlike where I've done the French seam, you want both of your seam edges to turn the same direction. So we'll go on this side, go around, I'll put the whole thing in there, and you start from the other end. Yes. I don't like to typically back tack top stitch, but this is on the bottom corner where it won't really show. So if your top stitch is somewhere where it will be seen, you pull it through and tie it off. What I didn't do was check the bobbin, but I just put a new one in a little while ago, so it should be good. But I'm going to check it again just to be sure. Oh yeah, it's good. Okay. You should do that before you start your seam. Okay. Too warm for this jacket wrestling that thing. Going over this French seam is going to be a little tricky, so I'll have to definitely make sure that when I get to that, I'll have to probably pull it through a little harder. There we go. more difficult than usual because I have half-inch sew-through foam on this outer panel. That's to help to make the whole seat look nice and smooth. Make up some of the unevenness in the foam. Alright, across the other French seam, so we're pretty much on the home stretch now. Fingers don't lock up. Come on. Almost there. Okay, so it's got our top stitch all the way around. Now, I got to sew the pull strips on, and this will be ready to go on there. Of course, I got to cut the pull strips first. All right, we're all sewed. Have our pockets all sewed on there. Have our wires in there. So. Now let's just put him on there. And shouldn't really be too bad, I'm hoping. This back part will be easy. And there's plenty of places to fasten on this one, so adding the wire to hogging to was well worth the effort on this because the way this thing was originally put together was kind of dumb in my opinion. So we definitely want to get one close to these brackets for starters. Actually could have pulled down a little tighter on this back part, but I think time it pulls for the front will be alright. I usually like to have a small cup or something to put my hog rings in. Of course, you can get a handful of them and sort them as you go. Well, that's sticking out there. I actually should have took up some in that seam. This has got to go here. I'll pull it down in the front. I'm going to have to modify that a little bit. We'll come back to that. This is one of those deals where we also want to go on this one close to where we're welded to the frame. So we're going to catch him right here. And this is one of those deals where you got to use your hog ring to pull him over there. And see, this is where you need your little tray to put your augerings on because you got to have both hands to do what you need to do here. Now we'll get that one in the middle. Of course, that 1/4 inch rod is plenty strong enough, so. I have to go back and get one between them. Slight oversight there. I have bolts here that are going to need to be accessible to bolt the tracks on. So that's going to have to pull enough to put a hole in that behind it. So I guess I'm covering my bolt up, but then I will make an access hole for it once I've got this fastened in place. Hopefully. Well, I don't know about that. That's kind of right in my seam there. But there's got to be a hole there, so just want to make it. All right. Now the problem is I can't take that back out like that. So we will need to take that back loose and take that bolt out when we go to put the tracks on. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to trim this to where we can get our bolt in there. Yeah, that'll work. And we want to just keep working this around in these corners. I'll put probably more hog rings. Make them go around. And I believe, why my nose itching so much? I believe I need some big channel locks. Well. Okay, there we go. Alright, so this is going to be round 2 with this seat cover. I had it almost all the way on there, but I was having issues with this corner, and then I ripped the pull strip on one side trying to pull it, so I decided to just take it off and take out, starting about here. I took out about 1 inch down here up to here, and then from here I tapered it down to about there, and then I had to redo my top stitch, which is tricky, but I was able to tie it off and start and re-top stitch each side, so we're all good now. So this is back here, and we'll pull back here and allow this to be where the seat back can sit on it. So now I just got to get it hog ringed down for good this time. Also shaved off 1 inch of foam, tapered out here too, so that I don't have to fully depend on the cover just pulling it back. But right now I'm pulling and making sure it's fitted in the right spot before I start doing any hog ringing. Looking pretty good. Get a couple in the back here. Alright, now I'm gonna flip him over bracket. Okay. We're gonna call this round 3. I only took the front loose, so I'm gonna pull this right here. I typically like to start in the middle, but I gotta get this where I want it, so we're gonna attach right beside this bolt. Right there. There. Now I'm going to work it from that way to this way, I believe. Or I can probably just pull this around a little bit. Put that one right near one of the little attachment points, that way it can't slide. Okay, now the rest should go on there easy. Now I have to watch this. This is how I ended up ripping the thing last time. A little too aggressive pulling it with the pliers. And we're getting a little bit of wrinkles here, but that's pretty much on the bottom. I want to keep our sides as smooth as possible. Where I'm trying to kind of bring it around this way. I think we're looking pretty good. Now this bar is over just a little further, so just want to pull that in a little tighter there, which is all right, because that's where our tapered part is. So if I can get about 2 more right there, should have this side. Okay, so I got my seat covers on now, so the only thing left to do now, well, I still got to get my tracks put on, but I have a little more work to do to them. That'll be in my other video. So we got new bolts. I got one here that's too long. I had to run out to the little local hardware store and buy some bolts. But so now we need our other piece of the seat back, and you put them on here like so. I might need a little help here. All right, so we need probably one small washer for to go on this part, and then we have a big washer to go between the arm and the seat. So small washer, big washer. All right, so the tricky part is getting.
You'll put the nuts on the inside.
Yeah, I don't want these things sticking out like that.
Okay.
It's about 6 inches from the back of the thing. So. Here, let me take mine back around. All right, get yours where you want it.
Let's go up here like this and go down. Maybe. Might be better. Yeah.
Okay. Now the tricky part's getting the washer in
I'll
there.
let you get yours in, and then I'll do mine.
All right. There's that. Now if I can get the bolt in here. Mine's in there.
Okay.
Okay. Now, it goes back until it hits on these pushing back spars. It'll go over there. There we go. All right, so now Now I can't see the top of it. Okay. That's got him together in one piece. And like I say, the only thing I got left now is the, I gotta put the nuts on the bolts we just put in, but then I gotta put the seat tracks on the bottom, but I gotta finish those up. And once I get them bolted on, it'll be all done. But I guess that's gonna do it. And I guess this will kind of gauge whether I do any more upholstery videos. I hadn't really planned on it, but this one was going to be so extensive, and I kind of wanted to show what goes into something like this. So, anyways, later.